Okay. Oh, okay. Thanks. Well, good morning, folks. I guess we're just going to have a small crowd. It looks like this morning. I saw a white pickup truck just pull in, double cab. I'm not sure if they're here for services or not, but I don't recognize the vehicle. But the topic this morning is on honesty. It's from one of the 13 topics that was requested from the congregation, I guess you could say, or maybe the men. And again, the first one, which is today, that'll be on honesty. So I have a question. The title is a question, really, in and of itself. Is honesty within our culture underrated? So is honesty within our culture underrated or underappreciated? For a thesis statement, I came up with something very simple. It's, do you value an honest lifestyle? So do you value one? Do you look for the quality of honesty in all your relationships? Or is it more of a case to where if it shows itself, that's great, but if it's not, but it's not really, if it shows itself, it's great, but it's not really of a priority in others that you really seek it out. So some questions to ask yourself there. Deciding to become an honest person yourself is a move most are capable of acquiring. So most are capable of acquiring honesty. It does take quite a commitment, though, to infuse oneself with this character, or you might say standard. It does take quite a commitment. How about reasons for dishonesty? Just the opposite of honesty. How about dishonesty? If a person makes a mistake, it may feel more beneficial to that person if they are dishonest when giving an explanation as to how the mistake was made. You think of people like at their workplace, a mistake is made, perhaps it's on their hands, and by giving a dishonest answer, sometimes that feels more comfortable to them than telling the truth. So what do you do in a tight situation, like that? Pushing blame to others can be a form of dishonesty. We can become dishonest about our feelings towards others. Maybe that sounds like common sense, considering the lesson, but we can become dishonest. Can you give me some examples of a person being dishonest? Some examples of a person being dishonest might be from business dealings. You've heard of like white collar crimes, business dealings of white collar crimes of people being dishonest with money, like I suppose laundering money would be one. How about deceit? Like a big one these days might be identity theft. That's being very deceitful, dishonest. How about not admitting when someone upsets you? Like, have you ever had that instance in your life where someone has trouble for whatever reason admitting when something upsets them? Well, they're being dishonest about that. They're being dishonest about someone upsetting them or something upsetting them. There's also trying to spread the news that is untrue or taking credit where it is not due. So I have a few passages here, three actually. That would be more to the point, 3 verses out of 2 different books. First, I was wanting to talk about Proverbs 11:3. So it's Proverbs 11:3, and I'll just go ahead and read that off. The integrity of the upright will guide them, but the perversity of the unfaithful will destroy them. So the upright being spoken of here are the righteous, the just, or those who are straight. The unfaithful or transgressors will distort. Sooner or later, they'll come around to distortion. A perverse person is willfully determined to go contrary to what is right or correct. And I want to stress that a little bit. So a perverse person is willfully, that key word willfully, determined to go contrary to what is right. They're willfully determined to go to what is right or to go against what is right or correct. So how about also James 3:7, James 3:7. I'm sorry, James 3:17, James 3:17. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Characteristics of godly wisdom are emphasized here. There has to be some amount of honesty involved when there isn't any partiality or hypocrisy. So yes, this verse ends by saying without partiality and without hypocrisy. So again, there does have to be some amount of honesty involved there. And finally, how about Proverbs 12:22? Proverbs 12:22. 12:22. Okay. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who deal truthfully are his delight. So wouldn't you want to deal truthfully and be his delight? Lying lips are dishonest. Lying lips not only hurt the person who is being dishonest, but they also hurt others as well. Such lips are morally disgusting or detestable. We see that in Scripture, I believe, where it says such lips, like lying lips, are disgusting or detestable, referring to our God. All people who want to practice the truth and be completely honest should hate the idea of lying, the mere idea of lying. The Lord truly loves those who deal in the truth. They are his good pleasure. Wouldn't you want to be the Lord's good pleasure? Being an honest individual is where you develop a practice of speaking truth throughout life. This is not to be confused with where someone speaks the truth when it is advantageous. You've heard of that word, like where there's an advantage to it. So they don't. Being honest isn't about speaking the truth when it's advantageous to you or effective to themselves. You've heard of like being honest when it's convenient. There's a lot of things that are that way, like being good. You might just say being good is a good one, good one. But being good when it's convenient. But we don't want to just be this way or that when it's just convenient to us. And I was talking with my dad, and I had these couple questions prepared for him. Dad, do you like to tell the truth? And also, do you like to do the right thing? So pretty simple questions, but maybe takes a good deal of thought, really. So Dad, do you like to tell the truth? The way you were brought up. Yeah. Okay. And do you, just a simple question, follow up, kind of like, do you like doing the right thing? Does that strike your fancy to do the right? Okay. Okay, thanks, Ted. I'll have some other questions too. I was hoping someone would answer. I had something worked out with Dan and Zach, and actually Steve originally, but all three of them. Well, I guess Steve is here now, so I guess I can't ask him. And but that's on the few minutes from now. Hey, good morning, Jimmy. Jesus once said, "Let your yes be yes, and let your no be no." This statement tells us that Jesus was emphasizing the importance of remaining true to one's word. Honesty is an essential component of a Christian's life and should be a guiding principle. And being honest is not in any way manipulating people into doing what you would selfishly want. So yes, being honest isn't about manipulating people, using the same words I just did, but it's not about manipulating others into having them do what you want. It is complete opposite, as a matter of fact. It is being transparent and open, which allows others to take your views and feelings into consideration. Honesty shows respect. So that's 3 simple words. Honesty shows respect. And I don't think there's going to be any arguments there. So yes, when we are honest with someone, we are respecting the fact that they deserve to know the truth. Have you ever thought of it like that? Like, again, oh, hey, Sarah Beth, good morning. When we are honest with someone, we are respecting the fact that they deserved to know the truth. The truth can be difficult to hear. It can be difficult to hear. Well, I think we talk about that later in the lesson. But people don't deserve to hear lies. Now, can you agree with that? People don't deserve to hear lies. At least under, I would say, almost any instance. If someone is being dishonest with you, they are really disrespecting you and your time. And again, I just want to kind of stop there for just a moment and reiterate here that they are really disrespecting you and your time by being dishonest with you. Have you ever thought of it that way before? That is, if a person is dishonest with you, they are in turn disrespecting or being unmannerly to you. Even more so, they are being contemptuous. Now, contemptuous, I know that's not a word we use every day. I don't think hardly anybody does, but I have a little bit of a definition here to break it down. If a person is contemptuous towards you, they feel you are in a sense worthless, and that maybe you deserve scorn. So that brings me to my question for Steve in the back, and I have another one for him here in several minutes from now. But so Steve, have you ever felt that you have been held in contempt by anyone? And let me just go on here. Has anyone ever disregarded you or disrespected you to where they tried to make you feel worthless? You know, has anyone ever held you in contempt? Steve, go ahead, if you don't mind.
I'm sure they have. I can't recall specifically.
Okay. You think it's happened? Yeah. Okay. Do you ever conceal things from others for selfish motives? Do you perhaps enjoy deceiving? Do you enjoy deceiving? Concealing and deceiving really communicates that you think you know best what the other person ought to hear, when that's not your place to say. But when you are honest with someone, they will find it difficult to detect the weakness in what you are saying. Okay. Once again, I was wanting to study Proverbs 11:3, if you don't mind. Proverbs 11:3. So we went over this maybe about 8 minutes ago. It says, the integrity of the upright will guide them, but the perversity of the unfaithful will destroy them. Now, this is meaning that upon examining the path of life, the role of integrity becomes paramount. The upright, characterized by their adherence to truth and moral rectitude, find their journey guided. This divine guidance fosters a life aligned with God's principles, which in turn promotes peace and direction. And also the destruction of, you might say, perversity or contrariness is emphasized here for the unfaithful. So again, the destruction of perversity or again, contrariness is emphasized here for the unfaithful in Proverbs 11:3. And let me just read that again. The integrity of the upright will guide them, but the perversity of the unfaithful will destroy them. Okay, now this lesson is on the topic of honesty. Again, it was the first of 13 that are kind of similar that will be taught within this quarter by the different men of the congregation. But have you heard of lying by omission? Yes, so there's lying by omission and lies of commission. I always want to talk to you about. They're not something you talk about every day, I don't think, but there are such things as lying by omission and lies of commission. I thought I might point out that the word omission only has one M. Now, I'm not for sure why that is, but it only has one M, so it's similar. I mean, it rhymes with commission. And of course, commission starts with a C, whereas omission is an O starting out. So if you were to lie by omission, you would be leaving out important information, or you'd be failing to correct a pre-existing misconception in order to hide the truth from others. It's kind of like the old adage where you say, I didn't lie, I just didn't tell you, okay? Lying by omission is like where I didn't lie, okay, but I just didn't tell you, okay? It is being negligent, as a matter of fact. Now, as far as lies of commission are concerned, these involve telling someone something that simply isn't true. So when you lie by commission, lies of commission, you're simply telling someone something that simply isn't true. You might say it's disinformation that's being fed, okay? Okay, so there's the differences. The Christian life should be one marked with integrity and honesty, yet because we all sin and find it easy to do so, honesty is something we may have to work hard at. So yes, being honest may be something, especially if you weren't taught maybe growing up at a young age, you may have to work hard at it, you know. It may not come naturally. An honest life is important on so many levels. We are known by the fruit we produce, and this is a question I was going to have Dan kind of sum up for me, but Dan Curry's not here today. But so yes, so we are known by the fruit we produce. You know, we've been taught recently, especially out of Galatians 5:22 and 23 by Dan himself. You know, where you know, it talks about the fruit of the Spirit, and there's also passages that I believe Jesus himself said where, you know, a good tree can only bear good fruit, and a bad tree can only bear bad fruit. And so, yes, we are known by the fruit we produce. Honesty corresponds with truthful words and significant actions. You do not need to be a spiritual worker who is ashamed. Again, I want to emphasize ashamed. You don't have to be a spiritual worker who is ashamed. Rather, you can think of correctly handling or rightly dividing the word of truth, which we can see here in 2 Timothy 2:15. So 2 Timothy 2:15 reads as, "Be diligent to present yourself approved to God, a worker who does not need to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." Okay. Okay. Honesty is marked along with being sincere. So there's some definite connection there. It is being free from deceit and untruthfulness. Really, what does your life add up to be if you don't value honesty or truthfulness? So really, what does your life add up to be really in the grand scheme of things if you don't value truthfulness and honesty? Are you at the very least honest with yourself? Okay, Steve, this is another one of those questions. Do you value honesty? This is a little easier than the last one or last couple. Do you value honesty, or do you seek honesty in others? Do you value honesty or seek honesty in others? Furthermore, I'm asking if honesty is honesty something you desire in others? So to you, it's more or less essential then. Okay. Well, thank you, Steve. Does anybody else want to comment on that? Okay. Feel free. Okay. All right. Well, ultimately, the Bible teaches that honesty is not only a moral imperative, but also is a reflection of our relationship with God, who is the ultimate source of truth and righteousness. I found 4 chapters that are particular on the subject of honesty within the Bible. So 4 chapters. These 4 chapters would be Psalm 15, Proverbs 12, Ephesians 4, and Colossians 3. And this is going to be a little hard to remember, I think, for anyone, but I don't even get it yet. And I've studied it quite a few times recently, but okay, so Psalm 15, going in order of the Bible here, Psalm 15, there is described the characteristics of those who are able to dwell with God. It includes honesty and integrity as essential qualities for those who want to be in God's presence. Okay, then there's Proverbs 12. Proverbs 12, there is a focus on the contrast between the righteous and the wicked. It emphasizes the importance of honesty and integrity in our daily lives. It also highlights the consequences of dishonesty and the benefits of being truthful. Okay, next up would be Ephesians 4, where it talks about the significance of speaking truthfully and avoiding deceitful behavior. Ephesians 4 emphasizes the need for honesty in our relationships with others and with God. Okay, finally, Colossians 3 encourages believers to put on the new self. So you've heard of putting on the new self, which demands them being honest and having integrity. It accentuates the importance of being truthful in all aspects of our lives, including our verbal communication and actions. All 4 of these chapters are relevant to honesty because they make noteworthy the importance of being truthful in our daily lives. They also highlight the consequences of dishonesty and the benefits of living with integrity. So integrity, honesty have definite similarities. By reading and studying these chapters, we gain a better understanding of what it means to be straightforward or genuine, and how we can apply this virtue in our daily lives. Well, for what is a divine precept that requires much grace to carry out, we could study for a bit Psalm 37:7. Okay, Psalm 37:7 says, "Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who brings wicked schemes to pass." To wait patiently for the Lord requires submission to him. This verse says to rest in the Lord. You'd be working on trusting God and finding delight in his commands if you were resting in the Lord. And also, God has I just want to kind of stress here that God has to allow or enable good things to happen to bad people. You know, we may get kind of touchy about the fact that, hey, you know, this bad person, let's just, for lack of better words, you know, we'll just call them bad. You know, they're having these good things happen to them. But God has to tolerate or endure, you might say, or just simply allow that to happen. And so sometimes, as we know, by the time we are adults, that does happen sometimes in our culture and the next culture here on earth. This verse ends by saying, the man who brings wicked schemes to pass. If you bring wicked schemes to pass, you are being an honest, you are not being, if you bring wicked schemes to pass, you are not being an honest or matter-of-fact sort of person. Okay, well, it looks like we have about 22 more minutes, so I think we have enough time here for my material anyway. As we're speaking of honesty at this time, I would like to mention the word, again, sincerity. Sincerity can be described as the quality of being genuine in one's intentions and actions. It is closely related to honesty because it involves being truthful and authentic. Authentic, or you might say genuine. The Bible emphasizes the importance of sincerity in 2 Corinthians 1:12. 2 Corinthians 1:12 says, "For our boasting is this, the testimony of our conscience, that we conducted ourselves in the world in simplicity and godly sincerity, not with fleshly wisdom, but by the grace of God, and more abundantly toward you." I didn't read that very well, but I can kind of touch up on the points here. So this was a testimony of his, that is Paul's conscience. In other words, his conscience testified that he had conducted himself in simplicity and godly sincerity. Now, our conscience is that inner faculty or inner judgment, that is interwoven with our spirit and approves that when we do right, and then disapproves when we do wrong. Okay? The conscience is based on what we have been taught. The conscience was often appealed to by Paul. This verse says Paul had behaved himself in two ways, in simplicity and in godly sincerity. So simplicity and in godly sincerity. In godly sincerity means with the purity of God. Paul's behavior or conduct was directed by the grace of God, or that is by the teaching of God. Well, okay, I think we're doing pretty good on time. The Bible emphasizes the importance of honesty and integrity in all aspects of life. The Bible teaches that honesty is a fundamental aspect of a person's character, and that is essential for building trust and maintaining healthy relationships. God's word also warns against the dangers of deceit and dishonesty, which can very well lead to anguish and devastation. So, yes, anguish and devastation. Now, as what was called attention to earlier, honesty is really a fundamental quality. So maybe you don't think fundamental qualities are altogether very important, but really they can definitely be building blocks, and really in essence they are building blocks, whether you've come to that conclusion or not. So yes, honesty is a fundamental quality, but I just want to stress that just because it's fundamental, it doesn't mean that it's less important than maybe something that's can only be acquired by someone who has been around for a while and has been honest for such a long time. So honesty is really a fundamental quality that a Christian should want to acquire. Honesty is essential for building trust and maintaining healthy relationships. An honest person represents himself just as he is, and the honest person tells others the truth about themselves. So while transparency is expressing everything that goes through your mind, a person can be honest without being transparent. Honesty is a character quality. Honesty as a character quality is a sign of the Holy Spirit's presence working within the person's soul. God's presence within a person gives rise to a little bit of Numbers 23:19. So it's just the first part, so it's Numbers 23:19a. God is not a man that he should lie. Again, at times, honesty will hurt the feelings of others. So we've heard that before. Let me get a drink here. Okay. So we've heard before at times honesty will hurt the feelings of others. So we may be reluctant to tell others the truth about some matters because we don't want to be the so-called bad person that told them the bad news. We don't want to be the bearer of bad news, maybe. But hey, it's better than telling them a lie. Really, what good does it do anyone in a situation like that to tell them a lie, to be dishonest to them? Really, what possible good could come out of it in the end? You may remember these words from Proverbs 27:6 that go. Now, this is out of the NIV. I want to study a little bit this out of the NIV, and then we'll do the same. We'll do the same verse out of the NKJV, which I know we tend to use here a lot, the NKJV. First, again, it's Proverbs 27:6. So it says, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies lies. So yes, I have something written down here on my notes. It says, false friends will flatter you with insincere praise. So are you a believer in that false friends will flatter you, at least at times, with insincere praise? Okay, how about the NKJV of 27:6 of Proverbs? Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. So yes, even the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Just that alone. That's supposed to be like, a kiss is supposed to be very sincere, but even their kisses are insincere. So really, a friend is willing to wound with the truth in some circumstances. Now, if words are, if words that tickle your ears are lies, they are the enemies of the souls. So you've heard of having your ears tickled. Well, if having your ears tickled means hearing lies, that is really, as I have written down here, the enemy of the soul. Okay, so, we're almost to the conclusion here. So it has been said by others that honesty should always be accompanied by gentleness. So yes, gentleness kind of goes hand in hand with honesty, whether you're dealing with a child or even an adult who's maybe over middle age, you know. So you could safely say that an honest individual is motivated by love, devotion. So yes, honest individuals are motivated by love or devotion. Above all, the honest or genuine person is concerned with telling the truth about God and fostering or strengthening the spiritual growth of other people. So next up, we have the conclusion. Okay, well, in conclusion, acquiring the quality of honesty under your belt would definitely be a good step to take in your walk of Christianity. Honesty is something that is very difficult to teach another if their heart is misplaced. So yes, it's very difficult to teach another if their heart is displaced about honesty. It's their heart won't accept it, you know, in most circumstances. I mean, it's, again, teaching honesty to someone whose heart is displaced is a difficult task. Continual integrity can be very hard to find in this earthly existence. And sometimes hearing the truth hurts. So some folks choose corrupt speech to relay messages. Being honest isn't always about relaying out constant information. Again, it's not always about relaying out constant information. It's really more along the lines of being tender-hearted, especially in situations that call for gentleness. And it's also about being compassionate or sympathetic. So yes, being honest can be about tenderheartedness, or again, these words, you know, and they're not just words, but honesty can also be about compassion and sympathy. Furthermore, have you ever noticed that if we want to get things done in the world, we need to form trusting relationships? It's very nice when we can take people for what they say at face value. Have you ever heard of that? Well, they say, well, you can take him what he says at face value. You don't maybe need to sign a big contract with someone if you can trust them at face value. You know, that's great if you can. There are real consequences to being honest, or for all that matter, for being dishonest as well. So there's, yes, real consequences to being honest. But on the flip side, there's also real consequences to being dishonest as well, you know? I mean, really, once you think about it. So being honest can hold many important philosophical challenges. For a philosophical issue related to honesty, you could ask, what is the characteristic reason that motivates a virtuously honest person to perform actions of trustworthiness? So you've maybe heard somewhere that honesty is the best policy. That's kind of an old saying. I'm not sure how far back it goes. Like, does it go back to the 1800s or even the 1700s? I don't know, but it just simply says that honesty is the best policy. Kind of an old saying, at least in our terms, you know, an old saying. And you know, honest actions can also manifest different sorts of virtuous traits. You might say they manifest benevolence when you tell the truth to protect someone's well-being. Okay, yeah, they manifest benevolence, yes, okay. Okay, well, I'm almost done here, folks. I do have a couple questions here. If anybody wants to say anything about them, that by all means, I would appreciate it. So I want to ask once again, do you look for the quality of honesty in your relationships? Do you look for the quality of honesty in your relationships? Esteban says yes, okay. Or with you, again, with you, and I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but is it more of a case where if it shows up, honesty that is, if it shows up, that's fine, but it's not really a pressing matter? Or in other words, is it not very important to you? Is honesty not very important to you, perhaps? Okay. Being an honest individual is where one develops the custom of speaking the truth throughout life. This is not to be confused with one who has a tradition of speaking truthfully, only mainly when doing so would be beneficial to them. So yes, we're, with honesty, we're not talking about, just to kind of sum up again, we're not talking about someone who is telling the truth to someone in order to gain an advantage or like gain some ground, you know, or it's like advantageous to them, you know, to gain an advantage. You know, I'm talking about someone who's genuinely honest. Here in this lesson is what I'm focused on. Okay, honesty needs to be considered an essential component within a Christian's life, and really should be a shepherding principle. Sinning in and of itself is easy. You may have heard that before. I would say most of us have, if not all of us, that sinning in and of itself is easy. Becoming an honest person and remaining that way is something that we may have to work hard at. So again, remaining faithful, remaining honest, and becoming honest to begin with is something that we may have to work hard at. It may not come naturally, you know. So, well, are there any questions at this time? Because that's all I have for this lesson. Okay. Well, thank you for your attention. Thank you.